All right, hopefully recording this time. What's funny is on the microphone here, I can hook it up to the camera, and everything can look right. But unless I push the button on the microphone, it's not going to record sound. But it says it is recording sound when it comes up when I turn the video on. So now I got to do a 20-minute video all over again. All right, what's on today's agenda? Today's agenda is romaine lettuce and corn silk and mint. Let me clean out the pipe. So that means I've already tried it. I can't say that I haven't tried the corn silk. I did just now, but it didn't record. I mean, it recorded, but there's no sound. Anyway, if there's sound now, we're in business. Okay. So what does it look like? Well, you know what corn silk looks like. And there's a bunch of it now in the grocery stores, fresh, straight from the farm and from the farm stands. Anyway, what I did with this was I put it in the oven. The top of the corn silk, when it's on the corn itself, is already brown. You see it in the store that way. But here it's all yellow and bright golden yellow. You put it in the oven for 45 minutes at 245 degrees Fahrenheit, and it turns like this, and it dries out. So that's easy, very easy to do. So I said, you know what? There's a lot of sources on the internet. When I looked up smokables, a lot of sources that say you can smoke the corn silk. And I found out, yes, that's true. So here we go. I'm going to get it on video. I'm going to get the mint on video. There's two different ways, or there's two different packaging or packages of mint here. But hold on, we'll just try this first. Yeah, the corn silk tastes pretty good. And it's very smoky. It has a little bit of just a slight, I mean, it reminds me of the corn itself, which is good. It does have a corn type taste. Very mild, but it gets spicy. It gets harsh. It has a bite to it after a while. Yeah. So yeah, I was looking for stuff that allows you to just go walk into the store and get it as a smokable. So that was good. All these that I'm going to talk about today are available at the store. You don't have to grow it in a special garden or try to look for a website that carries these different plants. You know, not everyone can get raspberry leaves or mugwort or motherwort. We have motherwort back here. I can just go pick it. Both mugwort and motherwort have sources on the internet that say that those are smokable as well. So yeah, I've already discussed the corn silk in this just before this, so I don't know what I'm repeating or what I'm adding to the conversation. So I'm just going to wrap it up and say the corn silk burns well, tastes good. It is a little harsh after you start puffing on it for a while, but it's cheap and easy to get. Now, I'm going to add some mint. Now, there's two different ways that I bought this. Here fresh leaves and these dried leaves. The dried leaves, this is organic mint, right? It was on sale for like $5.99. Normally, I think it was $8. Very, very expensive. This was like a $2.29. This is a 1/4 ounce, and this is 1 ounce. But you're going to lose a lot of water weight with this. I'm going to dry these. I'm going to dry the mint leaves tonight, and I'll smoke these separately. But for now, I'm going to try adding some mint to the corn stalk, corn silk, and I already know how it's going to taste, but I'm going to get it on video so you can see. I had not tried smoking either corn silk or mint previous to today, so this is brand new for me. Okay. Now, in my previous video, YouTube didn't like it, so it got demonetized. So I can't mention the unmentionables. I got some seeds for the unmentionables, although that's not the funny stuff. This stuff sounds like the word Tabasco. I am going to plant some of that in my garden. It's perfectly legal here in Vermont, but it's going to be for educational purposes only. Okay? And I'll discuss that in a different video that probably will get demonetized. I'll make a demonetized video every now and then. How's that? Let's see. Yeah, the mint is also harsh. It has a bite to it, but it has a good aftertaste. Yeah, it's pretty good. It does add an interesting flavor to the smokable, I had to admit. Now, I'm going to grow my own mint next year. It might taste better. This is obviously processed by some manufacturing process, right? And it may just smell like a warehouse or some kind of industrial thing, because it doesn't add that much flavor. It might also be very stale, who knows, or not dried in the best way. But, you know, this is for cooking or for tea. It adds a cool flavor to beverages, spring vegetables, and fruit salads, and stuff like that. It can also be used to season meat. But it's very subtle. It doesn't all of a sudden change the whole thing. It's very subtle. Although it does change the taste. Yeah. But it changes mainly the aftertaste and the smell. I can smell it in my nose after I've been puffing on this. And I can smell it in the smoke in the air. Yeah, so it's pretty good. I don't mind it. It's a good addition. Now, the Mullein that I've smoked before, they say it has medicinal effects, especially for the lungs. And I've heard the same thing with mint, right? So far, I'm using my sinuses to test that theory. If my sinuses start to improve, then I'm thinking, yeah, there's something to it. But my sinuses are usually a little bit stuffy because I have allergies to pollen. And right now, there's a lot of pollen in the air, so my nose is always kind of stuffy. This is not clearing it up. No. And I had already smoked a little bit prior to this video, and my stuffiness is actually getting worse. But it could be that I'm just sitting outside for a while and that's always going to happen anyway. It's very very difficult to obtain scientific results because you never know what's going on with the human body, right? You don't know what's causing different things. But I suppose if I try it often enough, I'll be able to, over time figure out what are the effects and where are not the effects from these particular leaves. So yeah, I got plenty of corn silk. I actually peeled some corn off the cob, but I was gonna maybe make a corn cob pipe, but this looks too small to make a pipe out of. As far as the core of the cob, I'm gonna need a big corn cob. I'm assuming in order to make a pipe. So I was looking at this. It's going to be very easy once I figure out how to do it. It's very easy to obtain the materials. If I want to stick with the corn silk. My favorite so far has been the silky dogwood, number 1. Number 2 has been the raspberry leaves. I got some red raspberry leaves. And these are so easy. Almost as easy as the corn silk, because once you damage the branches of the raspberry, they'll dry up and they'll dry right on the plant. And you think that the leaves would fall off, but they don't. They just stay on there so cooperatively, and all you need to do is come by and you leave the stem on there, just rip the leaf off. And, these stems, easy to remove. They're pretty hard. They don't crumble or crack. Sometimes it's hard to get the stem out because it'll crumble and crack. I mean, it doesn't do it. So these are just so easy. And they don't crumble to powder. They crumble in a nice way. Okay, so this is my number 2, and it tastes good. That's my number 2 choice for smokable after the silky dogwood, is the raspberry leaves, both in terms of ease and the taste. It's not that harsh. Now the raspberry, I was going to say, it's pretty mild, but I can't remember exactly how mild it is. But you can watch that video. I think it's mild, but I could be misremembering. I know the silky dogwood is very mild as far as the bite and the harshness. It's not harsh. Now the corn silk is, after a while, after you get it going and get a good ember in there, there is a bite to it. But if you just smoke it slowly and gently, it's not a big deal. But yeah, it does have a spiciness or a bite to it. Yeah. All right, so what's next? I'm going to try something that I never thought I would try. I've heard about corn silk before. And I've heard about lettuce as a joke, smoking lettuce. But I went ahead and I put some in the oven at 245 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but after 45 minutes, I turn the oven off. I peek in there to see if everything's okay, and I close the door back. I close the door again and leave it in there for another 45 minutes. So 45 minutes at 245, peek, shut the door, let it sit for another 45 minutes, and then take it out. And that's what it looks like, the romaine lettuce. And it's not all crumbly. See that? It looks and feels almost like paper, which is excellent. The trick is, though, you want to take the vein out of the lettuce. Now, in the previous video that had no sound, I took the vein out. You don't want to dry it with this on the lettuce leaf. You want to get rid of that and just dry these, the thin parts, because it contains so much water. It contains a whole lot of water. So it's not going to even fully dry at 245 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes. It'll still be a little damp. But after another 45 minutes, it does dry out and you get something like that. And then overnight, it gets less crispy. When it first comes out of the oven, it's crispy. It'll break easily. But after overnight stay in your house or whatever, it reconstitutes slightly and it becomes less crispy. I like that a lot. Now, some of it remains green and some of it doesn't. I've been told, don't worry about the green chlorophyll stuff. It's no big deal. So I've got good sources that tell me don't worry about it. So I'm not going to worry about it. But it is interesting as far as a process of how to get rid of the chlorophyll. I've seen explanations on how to do it. Heat doesn't get rid of it. Not in all cases. Maybe with the romaine lettuce it does, because there's less green. It actually turned a little bit brown. But I think it may be because the sugars in the lettuce itself that turn brown and not the chlorophyll. Because if I do the same thing with mullein, this is mullein, 245 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes, and it's still green. Now compare that with another batch of mullein leaves, and there's a difference there. So either people are lying about that being able to be cured to a non-green state, or what they're doing is they're substituting these young leaves and saying that all the leaves will turn like this and won't have as much chlorophyll. I found that the young leaves from the first year rosettes of the mullein are the ones that lose their color. And I put these in the oven as well after they've dried outside of the oven. I put them in the oven at 245 for 45 minutes, and they became a little bit more crispy, a little bit drier, and a little bit lighter in color. Okay, but this stuff, the mature leaves, this was from mature leaves from a plant that had the flower stalk. Okay, that's this bag. These are from first year rosettes within the inside of the plant where the young leaves were just barely coming out. Okay, so if you want less chlorophyll in your mullein, use the young leaves from the first year rosettes. Okay, all right. That's my results. Your results may vary. I might be the only one in the world that has results like that. So just keep that in mind. So this is the romaine lettuce. I was smoking some of this last night. So, and just now. And it's pretty good. Yeah. Long story short, it's pretty good. Better than the mullein. It tastes a little funny. I don't know how to explain it. See, the corn silk tasted and reminded me of corn a little bit. This, I don't know what it reminds me of. It has a bite to it. I don't know if I mentioned, but it has a similar bite to the corn silk. Yeah. But it stays lit pretty well. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world also. Just get it at the grocery store. This is organic romaine lettuce. And it's surprisingly mild. But like the corn silk, as you puff on it, as the ember gets bigger, it becomes more and more harsh and more spicy, or develops a bite. But with all this, with the corn silk and the romaine lettuce that I just smoked, and some last night, I did not get any clogs or gurgling in the bottom of the bowl. Like when I was smoking that tea blend, the fem tea with the clover leaves, with the clover flower, and the raspberry leaves and the rose petals, that stuff left a bunch of soot in the stem and liquid at the bottom of the bowl. So I had to take this stem out and then clean it. There was about, I don't know, ½ inch of soot in there that really clogged it up pretty good. After I took that out, this now works much better. So either that tea mix was not fully dry, or it just contains way too much sugar or something in there that causes a lot of soot. So I don't recommend that if you are disliking the cleaning of the pipes. If you don't mind cleaning your pipe out, then you can smoke the tea. Now, it's the tea was too flowery and too much like a perfume for me. This is much better. The romaine lettuce actually reminds me of the grape leaves. Yeah, and the raspberry leaves. These leaves tend to be very similar. The mullein leaves also, but the mullein has a distinct taste. These others, like the romaine lettuce and the grape, very, very similar. And then the raspberry is a little bit different, but it's also very similar. The corn silk is different, and the mullein is different. And then when I add the mint, it's different. I can taste the differences, in other words. But yeah, it is convenient to have a little shaker. I can just add a little bit to the pipe, and we'll try that. I went over how expensive the mint was, right? Couldn't believe it. I will grow some of my own here in the back here. Yeah, this really gets to my sinuses. If I let the smoke go up into my sinuses right as I puff on that new batch, it stings. The other smoke doesn't do that, but the mint does sting my sinuses a little bit. If I do that, if I take the first batch and light it and puff on it with a good puff and then blow it out through my nose, it'll sting my nose. Yeah. It won't, it's not doing it too much this time, but yeah, that first light on the batch of mint can be quite harsh. But I'm going to try smoking it by itself after I dry these out. I'm going to dry these out overnight and then leave them for a week or so for the next time. All right, so moral of the story is the romaine lettuce surprised me, and it was actually pretty good. Now, is there any kind of effect, chemical effect that I can tell? I can't tell. I don't think there is. I think the only medicinal plant so far, or the medicinal plants so far, are the mint and the mullein. As far as what people say, there are recommendations for both the mullein and the mint as far as medicinal purposes. But personally, I'm just doing this mainly for taste and for relaxation. I found that meditative pipe smoking is a thing. I just got to be very careful about what I mention because YouTube doesn't like certain things. And now I'm on their radar because they demonetized my last video. So I'm on their radar, and I need to not mention the unmentionables. Yeah, yeah. All right, so it's not bad. The mint does add some flavor, but it's mainly the aftertaste and the general aroma. Yeah, while I'm smoking it, it just tastes spicy. But the aftertaste and the general smell is minty, kind of, sort of. All right, there you go. That's it.